Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. 10 minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Monday morning, the second day of June, 2025. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE. 90.9 FM over the airwaves here in San Juan County, New Mexico. In Durango, Colorado, we're broadcasting at 103.3 FM. And if you're listening anywhere else on the planet, you've gone to our website to do that. Just go to ksje.com. Also want to welcome our viewers this morning who are tuning in. The video of this program is streaming out live to the KSJE Facebook page and also to our YouTube channel. So welcome aboard, everyone. So glad that you are with us, because coming up this morning, we are talking to documentary filmmaker Tom Schillaci. He is back in the area to talk about his latest in his documentary on the Gold Cave mine spill. That happened many years ago, but some of the ramifications are still being felt in the region. Episode 7 of Acid Mine Nation is being released, and we'll talk about that with him coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE this morning. Later on this hour, of course, we hope you'll stay tuned, because I'll be talking technology with Lewis Campbell. It's our Monday Reboot segment coming up today, 8:50 a.m. on KSJE. Next hour, of course, Mick Hess will take over the airwaves, roving with the arts, classical music coming your way, 9:06. And then, of course, we remind you, you can connect with KSJE on other social media platforms as well. In addition to Facebook and YouTube, how about Instagram? We're now on Blue Sky and X. So check us out and maybe connect with us in a different way as well. Also, if you're a podcast person, we remind you KSJE is publishing podcasts each and every day. Sign up, subscribe for free, and discover a new program that you may have missed recently. Outside our studios here at San Juan College, it is currently 61 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. We've got rain in the forecast today. 70% chance of showers, some showers already reaching the area. We'll see a high only of 68 degrees in Farmington today. Rain showers in the forecast tonight with a low near 58 degrees with a 50% chance of rain showers. Less rain tomorrow with a partly sunny day with a high of 77 on Tuesday, but then another storm system moves through Tuesday night with a low of 59, and more chances for rain on Wednesday with a high of 67 and a low of 56 degrees before things dry out and partly sunny skies return on Thursday. Still cooler, though, with highs in the lower 70s. Back with my guest with more right after this on KSJE. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center. The most important ingredients to sustaining health and wellness are the resources and tools that help you live a vibrant and healthy life. At San Juan Regional Medical Center, the goal is to promote health by making sure those resources are available. Find the path to the best life at lifebetterhere.com. San Juan Regional Medical Center. Better is our mission, improving lives through personalized health and care.
Life is all about getting from one place to another, from home to work, between school and the store. But what if you don't know exactly how to get there? That's where the Navigation Center can help. Maybe you've lost vital documents, need help with housing, or can't find a medical provider. Located inside Presbyterian Medical Services at 1001 West Broadway, the Navigation Center can help you navigate life's challenges. The San Juan County Navigation Center, connecting to resources, empowering lives.
Joining me here in Studio A, as I mentioned, to talk about his latest episode of the documentary film series he has been creating over the past decade. Tom Schillaci is here with me to talk about episode 7. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Scott. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's beautiful to be back here.
Great to have you back to talk about this ongoing project that you have been on. I was going to say saga, but maybe that's another word that could be used as well, about this. And this goes way back to, 10 years ago, 2015, the Gold King mine spill. And that has kind of created a series of documentaries that you have been working on and investing time with. And now we're here at episode 7, the launch of episode 7, right?
Yes. What's interesting is I really started in 2014, before the mine spill.
Right.
The story, Acid Mine Nation, was going to be the title, and it was going to be the little story whether Silverton and San Juan County, Colorado, went for Superfund or not to treat some of these draining mines that had become a problem.
Right.
Then the mine spill happened.
And you just happened to be, I think, in the right place, right time.
I was in Silverton, but I was working in a pub.
Okay.
And I couldn't get out to get footage of that, of the event coming through Silverton.
Right.
But someone else was there. And
Okay.
I can use their footage.
You've got footage, and we'll show some of that a little bit, too, from episode 7. But it's been now 7 episodes about this story, and it's kind of interesting that you were kind of wanting to talk about it even before this accident happened, or incident happened. I don't know if accident may be something people might take issue with, that term. But what you found, I think, during the next several years of investigation and talking to people and talking to government people and residents, is what became then, I think, a lot of the context for your documentary.
Yes. I had covered some public meetings.
Right.
More public meetings than I cared to stand there for.
Sure.
But that was in Silverton and Durango, and I had come down here for some of the community advisory group meetings here in Silverton at San Juan College after the mine spill.
Right.
And I have been over in Shiprock. There have been a conference here in Silverton, the Animas and San Juan Watersheds Conference.
Right.
Started because of the mine spill, and there were 2 days here and then a day over in Shiprock at Chapter House there. And so I have gotten footage from many different speakers over many different conferences over a few different years.
Wow. And you uncovered some really interesting things that you have talked about in these films, too, about communication and maybe lack of communication and how governments respond to emergencies and things like that. So I kind of want to go back to that day in 2015 when there was some activity and this incident that happened up in the mountains near Silverton, and it ended up creating this kind of multi-state environmental disaster, I guess, for lack of a better term.
3 states, 3 Native American tribes, and 3 EPA regions, if you can believe that. Region 8 stops at the New Mexico line.
Right.
Region 6 is here in New Mexico, and I think Region 10 is over in Arizona. So.
Right. And so we're seeing some footage from episode 7. This is the footage of the spill.
Yes, that was EPA footage. That was the plume coming over the lower road.
Right. And so episode 7 is called "If My Mining Company Did That," and I'll ask you more about that title in just a moment. But I wanted to talk about, I guess, the idea of what happened was that these mines that are closed up in the mountains, and over time water kind of builds up behind them, and they've been kind of capped and sealed, and so there's really no place for the water to go until something breaks or something leaks out or what have you. And so that is kind of what happened in this case, right? The EPA was doing some work up there, and all of a sudden there's this big deluge of contaminated mining water, basically, right?
Yes, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, water had built up in Bonita Peak in the mine after some bulkheads were put in the American Tunnel. And so water rose up into the mountains and started coming out of the Red and Bonita mine, and the Mogul mine had a bulkhead in it, but the leaks around it, more water was coming out of that. And Gold King mine at the 7 level had more water coming out. So the problem had been growing over, 10, 15 years. And so the EPA wanted to put a plug in the lower mine, in the Red and Bonita mine, and they were going up to check the Gold King 7-level mine to see what might happen if you put a plug in the lower mine, would the water come up to Gold King 7?
Right.
The first part in part B in episode 7 is do the homework. My mining company would have done the homework. I was up there in 2014. I did notice water coming out of the Gold King 7 level. When they went up to check it in August of 2015, there was no water coming out. So even I knew there was an earthen blockage there, that water was backed up behind the earthen blockage.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it happened. When you get 6 guys and an excavator and a pile of dirt, and the excavator starts scratching at the dirt,
The pressure behind it
the pressure behind it
blows out, basically.
Blew it out, yeah.
And so that's what happened. And so, again, for folks who maybe remember that time or are new to the community since that time, the results were pretty visible, for lack of a better term. I mean, the river turned orange, and the waste kind of traveled down to Silverton. It got into Mineral Creek, I think, or one of them.
Cement Creek.
Cement Creek first.
First, and then the Animas.
And the Animas River.
Came down to Durango.
Right.
Down to Farmington, and hit the San Juan River in Farmington, and then
kept on going.
Keeps going through the Navajo Nation.
Right. And that caused all kinds of issues, obviously, because folks were concerned about, well, A, it's a whole totally different color. What's in this water? What mining waste is coming down? How is it going to affect wildlife and wells and all the other different things, which is then what your film went in to talk about, too, I think, were some of these other consequences of this catastrophe.
In hydrology, the water, could be diluted as it goes downstream.
Right.
But in sociology, the social impacts grow exponentially as you come downstream. So let's just take the communication piece
Sure.
as an example.
Yeah, what you found out.
In part B, I say my mining company would tell someone. Dr. Kim Carpenter was the San Juan County
CEO at the time.
CEO at the time. San Juan County, New Mexico wasn't told almost for 24 hours after the mine spill. And they got a call, and the state of New Mexico were told by the Southern Ute tribe, a water manager up there, and not from the EPA. So at that time, Governor Susana Martinez was very upset that no one called her from the federal government.
Right.
It was a neighboring Native American tribe upstream.
And the idea being that if you got notice, then the cities and municipalities and the counties and the farmers could take evasive action, I guess. They could shut down some of those intakes from the river, some of the irrigation ditches and things like that to try to at least contain the contaminants or whatever it was to the river and not spread it even further.
Yes, the New Mexico Office of the State Engineer had people here as soon as they could.
Yeah.
And they assisted with trying to close some of the head gates for the agricultural producers. Unfortunately, a couple of head gates could not be closed, and some of the orange water got into the irrigation system.
The other ditches and things, exactly. And again, this is something that, again, water managers are familiar with. It takes, water a certain amount of time to travel from, say, Silverton to Durango, onto Aztec, onto Farmington, onto the Navajo Nation. There's a kind of a measured amount. You kind of know what the timing is involved with that. But if you're not alerted, you're kind of stuck, or at least responding at the last second to whatever is coming downstream.
Right. There were some angry people here, and the first EPA meeting, Dr. Kim Carpenter had said he had to have some of the EPA people escorted by law enforcement. There were some people who were quite angry down here.
Yeah. So in your investigations and the work that you have done over these 10 years with these 7 episodes, so again, you've done 7 documentaries on this incident and what happened and the fallout and the kind of the settlements and trying to make people whole from this whole thing that went on. What what have you learned? Because this now episode 7 is kind of almost a summary of the last 6 all together now, to go from kind of beginning to present day. Is that a good way to sum it up?
Yes.
Okay. What's your feelings about this?
What I have learned is that an estimated $140 million has been spent so far, and there's no appreciable improvement in water quality downstream of Silverton. So
From the spill.
from the spill,
The time of the spill.
about $30 million was spent in that first year building the water treatment plant. So the water from Gold King drainage is being treated.
Okay. How many other drainages are there that aren't, though? I guess is your
There are
point.
3 of the other ones that are in Bonita Peak go right by the treatment plant. They drain into Cement Creek, goes right by, and it's the issue is zinc. Zinc is bad for fish. So
It's still a problem.
yeah, part of in part C of episode 7 is I would use a targeted approach. So instead of spreading out these projects across most of San Juan County, Colorado, myself and at least a dozen other entities and groups had urged the EPA to focus on the 4 biggest draining mines, Gold King being one of them, but the Red and Bonita and the Mogul and American Tunnel. Tackling those 4 big problem draining mines would reduce the zinc level 50% in the watershed below Silverton. So that's what I.
That's what you, if you're a mining company,
If it was my mining company.
that's what you would do.
Yes.
Gotcha. But they didn't do that.
No.
And I assume probably part of that's money, right? Because these are expensive projects when you're talking about these types of things.
Yes.
Yes and no?
I can
It's also
make-
public health.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
An illustration, a point I can illustrate is one of the projects to move a mine drainage away from a waste rock pile costs over $100,000. One of the claims from a Durango fly fishing shop was $98,000. This project that cost over $100,000, they don't really know whether it's going to improve water quality or not. They
Gotcha.
said it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But sometimes water gets filtered as it goes through that waste rock pile. So there were no measurements before and after to determine how much metals does that draining mine contribute into the watershed.
Gotcha.
So if you don't know what the impact or what the results are going to be, or have a good idea of the improvement in water quality, you're spending money without really any assurance that it's going to do any good at all. Meanwhile, there's a business who filed a claim for lost business revenue. I think that $100,000 could have gone
Right.
to pay those claims.
And to be clear, there are still businesses that have not been made whole from this incident, right? Their claims have been either denied or postponed or delayed. Some maybe are still active, but we're here 10 years on, and some companies are still out of luck, out of money.
Yes, and in August of 2024, it's my estimation that claims were denied for a 3rd time. There was some money paid for property damage, but
Right.
these fly fishing companies and river rafting companies couldn't even put boats in the water, so how could they get property damage?
Right. There's really business losses just on the surface, right?
Yes,
Basically. Right?
and I show in episode 7 the owner at Mile to Wild
Rafting company.
and Jeep Tours. He says they fielded calls for 2 years after the mine spill because when somebody had put in the Animas River, they got pictures of the Orange River. So the effects were felt and experienced long after the 8 days of the plume going through Durango and Farmington.
Right.
So I was happy to hear in the winter and spring of 2025 that there are 2 bills in the U.S. Congress, one in the Senate and one in the House of Representatives, to pay those claims of lost business revenue. It's going to be a waiting game because federal government with continuing resolutions means no more new money.
Right.
So it's a waiting game, but at least efforts are being made.
Right. It's still being talked about, even
Yes.
10 years later,
Yes.
which is still important. So I think that's good. On the other hand, there have been settlements to the municipalities, the state and the cities and the county, because as we were talking before we came on the air this morning, there are some visible projects being constructed or have been constructed already in the county and the city with proceeds from some of that settlement money. So that's come through, but it's the private businesses that are still waiting.
Yes.
That's the idea.
Yes, I believe that program to funnel some of the money is called Natural Resources Damages Fund,
Right. I think so.
and it helps with river trails. It helps with river features for whitewater.
Things that are related to the river or agriculture, things like that.
Yes,
Yep.
you want to things that help the community become more involved with the river.
Yes, exactly. So that's a good thing. So I want to show another clip of the film here and show people. This is again episode 7 about entitled "If My Mining Company Did That," and again you're kind of going back through to summarize the entire part of this. There's part C that we were just talking about, right? The
Yes.
best management practices.
Yes, the prioritized cost versus results.
Right.
Yeah.
And institutional knowledge and pay claims of lost revenue, which is again we just talked about. It's still we're
Yes.
still waiting, and so that's kind of what's going on. And so you kind of talk about the background and how we got there in 2015. There's a clip here too that I wanted to show. There you are, in front of part of that Orange Creek coming into the river. Is that the idea? That's where you are?
Right. That was
there.
spring runoff. So people who live in the area, with Red Mountain isn't called Red Mountain for nothing. So,
Yeah, right.
Snow and rain runoff can pull some metals into the stream system, but there also is acid mine drainage, and I say that's what we're trying to fix.
Right. And that's been going on forever, since mining started up there.
Since mining started, but since Earth started.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Mountain isn't red because of mining.
Right.
It's natural geology.
Good point. Very true. And so for a lot of those folks, I guess, in the Silverton area and around, they know that these creeks are full of stuff that may not be pure mountain spring water. It's going to be some runoff, too,
Yeah.
from these metals and other things that have been either in the mountains from time immemorial or from mining activity.
Yes.
And that's what they have.
Yes.
That's just the nature of the environment in that area.
Yes. I would like to add, after the mine spill, a couple of years after the mine spill, there was the 416 fire above Durango. Well, in the fall, when you had some good, strong fall rains, a lot of the burnt soil sediment came into the river, and that was actually worse for the aquatic life, worse for the fish than the mine spill.
Right.
That soot clogged their gills, and there are pictures of lines of fish wanting to get out of the water.
Interesting. Because of that.
Yes, and there actually was higher concentrations of dissolved metals after the floods of the 416 fire than the Orange River of the
Interesting.
of the Gold King mine spill.
Right.
Well, we live below volcanoes, so
Right.
it is natural in the soil.
True. And I think a lot of people were surprised about that, too, even after the spill, that there wasn't more, maybe, evidence of damage to the wildlife in the river, the fish and other things. That they did studies, and I think extensive studies, that showed that there really wasn't a lot of damage that was long-lasting damage, I guess, from the spill. Am I correct in that remembrance, or am I remembering it wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
The Animas River through Durango returned to pre-spill conditions.
Right. Gotcha.
But to me, just because it wasn't an Orange River doesn't mean there's not dissolved metals in the water. So work needed to be done to treat some of these draining mines.
Right. And again, for communities even more downriver from Durango, Aztec, Farmington, the Navajo Nation, these communities pull their drinking water
Yes.
out of the river. And so when there's talk about dissolved metals in the river and problems, they're filtered and they go through a process certainly to clean that up, but it still concerns people, and I think rightly so.
Yes. In the early days of the conference here, the first couple of conferences, the New Mexico Environment Department, Dennis Michlin was the chief scientist then. And yes, New Mexico, I will have to say, New Mexico really stepped up with testing and verification, drinking well, household use for water.
Well testing and things
well
like that. They did a
testing.
lot of those for free for residents that
Yes.
had wells for their drinking water.
Yes. So props to New Mexico Environment Department in those first 2 years.
Right, right. Very, very true. My guest this morning, Tom Schillaci, is here. He is a documentary filmmaker, just releasing now episode 7 of his Acid Mine Nation series of films. And this one kind of summarizes the last decade of discussions with environmental folks, federal folks, EPA folks, states, counties, local governments, and residents and business owners about the effects of the Gold King mine spill from 2015. And so again, you're going to have a viewing screening in Durango, Silverton, pardon me, coming up later on this week, because we're talking, this is Monday morning, so later on this week, right?
Yes, Sunday, June 8th, in the basement of the Grand Imperial Hotel.
Okay.
It's a sneak preview to Silverton because Silverton is where the event happened. So
Right.
I want them to see firsthand, get first crack at it. And if anybody has an issue with how I present it, then I can make adjustments and show it again. I'll be back in the area in September, and I'd like to show it in Durango and in Farmington.
Right.
So that's coming up in the fall.
Right. And we were talking before we came on the air this morning, too, about some of the reactions you've gotten, and even some federal EPA folks have, I think, given you some, not negative feedback, but I think some encouraging feedback of your work. Is that a good way to describe it?
How this episode 7 came about was in the winter of 2024, I got an email asking to send an abstract in for the Rocky Mountain Mining and Reclamation Conference, which was an outgrowth of the San Juan Mining and Reclamation Conference. So it's more regional than local now.
Right.
And I created a paragraph just on a whim. Hey, if my mining company did that, I would do these 3 things. I wouldn't do these 3 things.
Right.
And oddly, they accepted it. And so when I gave my talk at that conference in Leadville last spring, I did talk to a project manager at the Bonita Peak Mining District Superfund site.
From the EPA. This
From
is
the
the EPA
EPA.
folks. They were in the audience.
They were in the audience, and she did say, thank you for saying that. There might be some opportunities we can improve on how we do things. So that was good to hear. That was
Right.
very good to hear, and unexpected, actually.
Sure.
So maybe my efforts can improve how things are done.
Right. Well, I think that's your hope anyway,
Yeah.
and why you've been investing all of your life and your time and talents over the last decade of putting these together. At least that's what I think is behind this. I don't know if you're independently wealthy yet from all this filmmaking. There's got to be
No.
something in it for you.
No, that something would be if processes and procedures would be changed to improve water quality instead of doing projects that don't improve water quality.
Right.
That would be my payoff is to see processes be changed to improve water quality.
There you go. And again, these things are continuing. We don't have a lot of mining activity as much as there used to be, for sure, here in the Four Corners region, but there's still mining happening across the country, and there's still issues and potential issues to water quality in these other areas, and even these areas that have abandoned mines too, like we do here.
Yes. I could also add, though, that Trout Unlimited had worked very hard for Good Samaritan legislation, and there has been passed for some Good Samaritan projects, I think 15 projects over 5 years throughout the region, so
Right.
not only Colorado. And that is a very positive thing for not only Trout Unlimited, but for local watershed groups. I think the San Juan Watershed Group down here, of course the Animas River Stakeholders Group is no more, but on the north side of Red Mountain in Ouray, it's the Uncompahgre Watershed Partnership.
Right.
They might be able to do some pilot projects on a Good Samaritan liability protection that was recently passed. So that's good news. Now, there have been Good Samaritan bills introduced since like 1994.
Right.
So it's been a long, long road to get some Good Samaritan legislation, even if it's a pilot project basis. But that's better than what it was.
Sure. And that, I think, again, you must feel pretty proud that that your work hopefully has maybe tried to spark some of these things into becoming a reality. I mean, that's got to feel good.
I did a video in 2014 about Good Samaritan legislation.
Mm-hmm.
But for this passage, for the pilot projects, I can't take any credit.
Oh,
for
all
that.
right.
It was Trout Unlimited that really carried the flag for that one.
Got you. But with these films, I mean, I think you've certainly raised awareness of the issue with these communities and these individuals who may not even be aware of the potential threat or the damage that is potentially could happen to these waterways, to these areas, and I think that's been something that you can certainly take credit for over the last decade.
I hope so. Episode 1 was my first crack at it.
Right.
So I re-edited that because I saw some things that I didn't cringe, but I was like, okay. Episode 2 was how Silverton and Durango responded. Episode 3 was how New Mexico responded with a little bit of Navajo Nation and some Utah because,
The river goes there too.
the river goes there too, into Lake Powell. Episode 4 focused on the Navajo Nation's reaction. Episode 5 was more of a rant, I will say. I think the title was "Is Superfund the Answer?" So I was
Right.
maybe drawing the comparison between volunteer watershed group being more effective at projects that reduce dissolved metals in the watershed.
Mm-hmm.
And episode 6 was more of a lament, like, damn it. And that title was EPA Accountability. So accountability.
was frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was accountability not only for the mine spill event, but accountability for doing these projects that don't really improve water quality.
Right.
And that's so episode 7 takes clips from all these episodes and lines them up in a way that's I think more engaging, more tells a better story.
Gotcha. So, and that's what people will see in
Yes.
Silverton later on this week and hopefully later on this summer down here.
Yes.
If you're able to schedule that, and I imagine you will be, just a matter of figuring out the time and place. So,
Sure, sure.
So we tell the audience to stay tuned because we'll have Tom back to talk about that next date when that happens in the fall. And so we will look forward to that. But for now, we are out of time for this visit. But it's really been great to reconnect with you and to see just how much I think you've grown as a filmmaker over these 10 years. I'm sure you've said you learned a lot too.
Oh, yes.
And I guess before I let you go though, what's next? Because you were telling me that maybe you'll hang up the video camera for a moment and maybe do some writing for a while. Is that the plan? Maybe?
That was the plan after episode 6.
Oh,
Now after episode 7, yeah.
Still the plan.
I have a box of old road trip journals when I first came through Colorado in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I'd like to go through that box, read some journal stories. It's journals, diaries, and essays. and maybe publish a few stories of my travels around the region.
There you go. Well, I think it'd be good reading. So
Yes, and that has nothing to do with mine drainage.
nothing about mining at all, but it'll be some other adventures from your life. So
Yes.
we'll look forward to that too, Tom. Good to see you.
Right.
Thank you for coming in, Tom Schillaci. He is the documentary filmmaker, Acid Mine Nation. Episode 7 is out now and will be screened in Silverton later on this week, and you'll see it maybe down here in San Juan County later on this summer.
Can I plug?
Please plug.
It's on Vimeo.com.
Okay.
Look on Vimeo for Acid Mine Nation, and you should find all 7 episodes there.
There you go. I'm glad you made that plug. So perfect. Good to see you, Tom. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here.
You bet. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.